Michael, back to our old familiar Natty Light.
So when I was in college, there was a distinct difference between the Natty Light guys and the Busch Light guys. I think it's what you grew up on. So I grew up on the Natty, not the Busch Light. But some of the hillbillies from some of the small towns in Kansas, they were straight Busch Light guys. And I couldn't stand it. I still, to this day, couldn't choke down a Busch Light. But I'll drink 2 Natty Pounders in the
during
next
this
30
podcast.
minutes and be golden. It's like it's in its natural habitat.
In the words of my childhood hero, Nick Faldo.
Nick Faldo.
All American beer is like making love in a canoe. It's fucking way too close to water. But it's very refreshing to me. It's kind of like, will I have some water or will I have a Natty Light?
Yeah.
This has a little bit more flavor. That's the way I look at it.
I remember the first time that I ever drank beer to quench my thirst. It was all downhill after that. We were doing a demolition job in Omaha, Nebraska. Actually, we did a demolition job and then we built a retaining wall that was going to go around a movie theater that they were building. And these friggin' big ass 25-pound cement blocks that we had to build a wall that was probably 30 feet high. And we drove up from Kansas City. We got there at 10 o'clock at night, and we're staying at my buddy's sister's apartment. And we drank until probably 3 a.m. I believe I passed out at one point and woke up with things written on my face. And then we had to go to the construction site at like 5. And so we were just exhausted. We got there, it was freezing cold, but by the time the day wore on, it ended up being in the 90s. So sweating, exhausted, hungover, and when we went to the cooler, the only thing in there was beer. And that Natty Light in Omaha, Nebraska to quench my thirst, I think it altered my life, I imagine. So anyway, what's going on?
We're not just here to talk about that.
No.
It's my 13-year wedding anniversary today, Michael.
Congrats, 13 years, huh?
I think that puts me way ahead of the curve,
It seems like yesterday, Eddie, when I was sitting in the pew at the church.
Beautiful church.
It was beautiful, very
All
nice.
Saints Episcopal.
It was a beautiful event. You had the British-looking tuxedo thing on,
Yep.
right? And I say,
Morning suit.
And now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride. Eddie kisses his beautiful bride on his wedding day, and everyone stands up, and I'm standing up in my pew, and I was right in the aisle, and they're leaving the church, and I'm clapping, and Ed hits me in the nuts on his way out of the church on his wedding day. I'm like, like, who does that? Who does that?
I was nervous.
Yeah, it came naturally. And then I got married then a year later. I was like, I'm getting him back. I'm getting the motherfucker back. And I'm standing on the altar now, and I gave specific instructions to old man Worcester, who
I remember.
He was the usher. I said, you make sure that Ed sits on the aisle. And you saw it coming.
He was too obvious about it. It was too obvious. If he'd had any sort of logical reason for me to stand there, I would have done it. If he'd have been like, hey, you needed to stand here just in case, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't. It was like, you must sit here. I was like, why? Because you must. I'm like, something's fishy about this situation.
I had it planned out. I was getting him back, and my plan was foiled.
But that's a nice segue into our subject today. Mm-hmm. The power of intention. Because I remember your wedding, and the reception was a dry reception. When I first heard that, my heart dropped.
Yeah,
let's be honest,
too.
people only go to weddings to go to the reception.
My heart.
Unless it's yours.
As well. Yep.
Funny little side note about my wedding 13 years ago.
13 years ago today.
I was standing behind like the organ with the priest or the vicar, the clergyman.
Sure. I'm a clergyman,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did you print out, you do it online and print out your thing with a piece of paper that you can put around your collar?
Yeah, I've got a card. Tell your story. Let me
Anyway,
fish out my clergy card.
the guy who married us was also English, and I said to him right before, they started playing the music, that was our cue to go out. And I go, how long do you think this is going to last? And he goes, hopefully a lifetime.
I have a sense of humor, dude.
Anyway, going back to your wedding reception, which was a dry reception on paper.
On paper.
Our intention was to not do that. And I believe we got creative and kind of opened up our own little mobile bar in the trunk of maybe your car or your dad's car.
Yep.
In the parking lot.
The old Escalade rental turned into the bar right outside the doors.
Yeah, and I don't think we necessarily got away with doing it under the radar, but we certainly accomplished the goal.
Yeah, so that was an interesting deal because it wasn't supposed to be dry. If we were going to do it at the church, it would have been dry. And I talked to my wife. I'm like, look, nothing needs to be crazy. But I've got a family coming from up north, and they'll drink for anything,
It's a Tuesday.
So we got to have, it at least has to be available.
Some libations.
Yeah, and so we rented out the venue, and so we weren't going to have the reception at the church. We're going to have it at a venue that had a reception hall. It was attached to a bar. Well, funny story. My wife Amanda used to watch Zach Brown perform at that bar when he was on the rise here in Georgia when she was in college. Yeah, and so all right, cool. So there'll be a bar. People can go into the bar, get drinks, whatever, and we can keep it fairly sane.
Yeah. The people that want to stay dry can stay dry over there,
and it won't be imposed
people that
upon.
want to get wet can jump in.
Yeah, and so I thought it was a good plan. My dad bought a keg behind the bar, so any of the the attendees to the wedding could help themselves. And my brother and I filled up the back of the Escalade with anything you could fill it up with. There was tequila, there was Jägermeister, there was vodka, there was Fireball, and the party ended up not being in the. We could have just had it in the parking lot at the hotel, because everyone ended up hanging out in the parking lot at the back of the Escalade.
Yeah,
but it was a good time.
So, intention. It is my belief that a lot of people, certainly, let's say when they get into their 30s and 40s, don't really have a solid intention when it comes to moving forward in their career and their life. I think they get very, very comfortable with their situation, and whether they like it or not, they just kind of take it and go day to day and don't have an intention to change their situation.
I think it can happen before the 30s and 40s, unfortunately.
Maybe.
What did Yogi Berra say? If you don't know where you're going,
you'll
end
up
someplace else. Right?
And there's another one from C.S. Lewis. If you don't know where you're going, every road will take you there, or something like that.
Who did he play for?
Played for the Mets back in the 30s. And he also wrote a book.
Mets first season, 1962.
Yeah, he was sort of ahead of his time.
All right, so intention starts with vision. What do I want? Where am I going? Right? And then how do I get there?
Well, yeah, so I've said this before, but everything in anyone's life happens twice, right? Happens up here first, then it happens in reality. Everything, like before you bought that beautiful red Tiger Woods Nike shirt. I don't even know the story behind it. I'm gonna guess you saw Tiger playing. You're a casual golf fan.
Casual.
So you probably, I'm still guessing you're familiar with Tiger.
Absolutely.
You saw him wearing that red shirt. I'm guessing you had a charity golf event coming up.
Yep.
To which you would be driving the car and handing out beers, which is your speciality.
Best in the world.
And you sat on your couch or wherever you were, and you said, way before you did it, I'm going to go get me a red Nike shirt.
That is exactly pretty much what happened. Yeah.
Okay. So everything in our world, right? This laptop, at some point I didn't have a Mac. Everyone was telling me Macs were better.
Baker told me that.
And they are,
Yep.
I think. So I thought about it in my head first, and then I did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything. This master shirt, you know, I
mean, you drank a stack of beers in a little plastic cup.
damn you and your
right?
lucky guesses.
And then had an egg salad sandwich.
And
And then on the way
cheese.
out, you got the shirt, because who wants to carry it around all day?
And to get more specific,
Yeah.
I went into the gift shop there, and I'm like, I'm gonna get me a Masters polo shirt. But then I had options.
There's a
You
lot
get
of
the
them.
white one, the green one,
Sure.
the red one, the blue one. And so I had to make a decision, and before I got the navy blue one, I had to decide I want the navy blue one. And then I got it off the rack.
Baker did the same.
I think we're keeping this pretty basic right now.
Simple.
But the point is, nothing is going to happen, good, bad, small, big, massive, unless you think about it first, make the decision. And I think the point of today's show, is this a show?
Show. I mean, it's a show that would insinuate someone is watching it. So I don't know. It's just two friends sharing some thoughts about being intentional.
Yep. And the more certain you are that whatever it is going to happen, the more likely it is to happen.
Yeah, I think. You know,
Have you ever set like had a crazy idea, like that really didn't make any sense? You're like, all right, I've made my mind up, I'm doing this. And you had the strongest of intentions and you made it happen.
Ultimately, it comes full circle. That's how we ended up in Carrollton, Georgia at my wedding. I was like, I'm gonna do this. And I did.
What? Have a wedding?
Well, that was the culmination of the other things that I decided were going to happen before that, right? But it's interesting. You know, I didn't think about this earlier. So back to my red shirt, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't shop. I don't ever shop.
Okay.
I go and buy what I want, right? Shopping is like, oh, let's see what they have. Like, I decided I'm gonna get a red Nike shirt to wear to this golf event, and then I went and got the red Nike shirt. I wasn't distracted. There was no wasted time, no wasted effort, no wasted energy, because the decision had already been made. I'm going for this sole purpose of getting that red Nike shirt. And like I don't shop. I physically can't shop. I can go and get what I want, but I'm not going to go and just walk around aimlessly. And that's unfortunately, I think, what a lot of people do in life is they walk around aimlessly shopping, never making a decision about what they want and never going and getting it.
Yeah. And that brings up a good point, is that people are probably thinking, I want this, I want that. I really would like that, but it hasn't happened yet, right? And so really maybe the bigger question is, how do you ensure that you get what you want, right? And here's how I look at it. The bigger the goal, the bigger the prize, the bigger the payoff, the more likely you are to be committed to doing the thing. If I said to you, hey, walk across this glass, 10 feet worth of smashed glass, shards.
Shards of glass.
That's shards of glass.
Derek sharded his pants one time. Didn't you tell that story?
Yeah, and his last name is Shard,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
yeah.
If I said, Mike, 10 feet of shards, walk across barefooted, $1,000. You'd be like, nah.
No,
$50 million,
I'll do it.
right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing, so what would change?
Well, the reward would change.
Right.
$1,000 won't even cover the doctor. Trust me, I know. $1,000 won't cover it.
It's the same thing though, right?
Yep.
And so can you do it? Can you do it?
Can I do it? Yes, I can do it.
Right.
Yes.
Isn't that what life should all be about? Shouldn't we be doing things that we can do if we want to do them? No, because if the reward, the prize, the swag bag at the end of it isn't worth it, you won't do it. You will justify reasons why it should not be done. $1,000 isn't worth it. I'm going to have to go to the hospital afterwards. It's probably going to get infected. It's going to hurt like shit, right? $50 million, you just grit your teeth and you just pound it out. Boom, boom, boom. The reality is it would probably take you about 4 seconds.
Yep.
And you would still end up with the same negatives. You'd probably still end up going to the hospital.
Yep.
And then picking out bits of glass at your feet.
Yep.
And you'd probably be a little sore for, I don't know, a while. So maybe that's what it all boils down to. You know, when I was about 15 or 16, I had a strong interest in golf and, you know, was into it. But if there was something else going on, I would probably go do that, right? But when somebody said to me, hey, if you want to get really good at golf and take it to the next level, you should go to college in the States, where I'd never been before, my intention completely changed. It was like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Yeah, you're going to get the red shirt.
Boom, that was the red shirt. So
it begs a lot of introspection. I think like a lot of the things that we've spoken about here over the last several weeks, right? What do I want? Is it worth, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? I've heard you say that a lot over the years. And then what am I willing to do? And you either then check it off your list or you cross it off your list, right? This is all things that we've spoken about. So if I am new to the real world, right? I graduated college and I need to find a real job and I need to start a career. What advice you have for that person to be intentional with what's going on and not end up just collecting keys and being limited with what they can ultimately do, the freedom that they ultimately have with their life?
Probably one of my biggest pieces of advice would be very, very careful and strategic with who you take advice from. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, myself included for a while. A lot of times we take advice from people who aren't qualified to do that thing. If you want to be middle America and kind of do what everybody else is doing, then you can probably take advice from a bunch of people, right? I don't know that if all the cards were laid on the table, that anyone would want to be average here in the States or really in any country for that matter. Yeah. Like Google it. What does the average 50-year-old have in the bank? And how much credit card debt do they have?
We did that math.
How old are they going to be when they can actually retire, right? So if you want to run $1 million business, you know, a year, like, you know, profit nets you $1 million a year, you need to talk to somebody who's done that or is doing that. If you want to run a business that nets $10 million a year, the best way to do that is to talk to somebody who's done it or is doing it, and essentially just ask them questions, mimic what they do did, and that's that. You know, so I think a lot of times people will take advice from folks who wish the best for them and want the best for them, but really don't know what's out there.
I mean, people, I don't want to make it too big of a generalization, but who has the most influence on you as you're starting your life,
for
your
most
career?
People, it's their parents.
It's your parents, right? And as a parent, I don't think I ever understood this until I became a parent. The only thing that you want is for your kids to be safe,
Healthy, happy.
and happy. That's it. That is what you want.
Yeah, no, the average parent, mine and yours included, is not saying to you, hey, you need to be massively wealthy and take advantage of all the abundance that is on this planet. Because there is. Like, I think last week, and I may have my numbers wrong, it's May the 13th, so we can look it up later. But I think just last week, it was either 4.2 or 7.2 trillion dollars disappeared from the stock market. But did anyone notice? Like, it was there, now it's gone. There's so much abundance. If you have an abundance mindset, you can go get whatever the hell you want. But nobody is getting taught that at an early age. And here's the really messed up part, because for the most part, we're all part of the system, right? The system says, go to school, go to college. Well, 99.9% of the teachers at school are probably not crushing their goals when it comes to financially and where they want to be.
Yeah, that's
so they're not qualified to even know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
other than
issue.
This is the hypotenuse.
Yeah, the obtuse.
Yeah.
National average entry level pay 2021, $32,592.
Yeah, it's dog shit.
National average.
Before taxes.
Yes. Yep. And we did math a few weeks ago, so we don't need to do it again. But that's the average. And when I talked to our guys this morning,
so that's just entry level across the board, not
entry level across the
grad
board. Yeah, just entry level across the board. So
I think college grads is like 50.
Maybe, I don't know. Probably, I bet the Google machine knows.
Does.
But
But who even knows if that's real?
Is any of this real? Are we really here?
I feel like it's Natty Light's real, right?
I talked about some science experiments this morning with the guys, okay? And I'm not a scientist by any means.
You're not?
Nope, not today. But I actually learned this in college, okay? So these scientists have a cage of monkeys, all right? 5 monkeys in this cage. And at the top of the cage, they hang a bushel of bananas, and then there's a ladder.
Is it called a bushel?
I don't know. What would it be called? A batch? A group? A bunch?
Google that.
Bunch.
What's a bunch of bananas?
Bunch. Okay, so there's a bunch of bananas.
Bushel.
Bushel.
It's like bushel of wheat.
Why can wheat be bushels, but bananas can't be bushels?
Why is a bunch of crows called a murder?
I don't know. Anyway, the bananas are hanging at the top of the cage, ladder set up underneath the bananas, right?
Okay.
What do the monkeys do naturally? The monkeys like bananas. You ever play Donkey Kong? They have that across the pond?
Okay, love bananas.
Yeah, so what happened? Monkey will start climbing the ladder, right, to go for the bananas. The scientists then take a fire hose. You ever watch Jackass?
Yeah.
See Johnny Knoxville get shot with a fire hose?
Yeah.
Not a pleasant experience. They blast the monkey who's climbing the ladder with the fire hose, and then they blast the other 4 also.
For even participating.
Just for being there,
in this
right?
Crazy plan.
Right? And so then, what happens? Another monkey tries to climb, they all get blasted with the fire hose again. Well, eventually, every time a monkey tries to climb the ladder, the other monkey's like, fuck this, the fire hose hurts, they yank him down, right? They pull him off the ladder, okay? Then, one by one, the scientists remove a monkey and put a new monkey in. What does the new monkey do? He goes to climb the ladder, and what do the other monkeys do? They pull his ass down.
They're like, you're going to get soaked, mate.
So then one by one, they remove all of the monkeys, and now you have 5 new monkeys, none of which have ever been shot with a fire hose. Yet every time one of them starts to climb the ladder, the other ones pull him down. Because that's how it's always been done around here. They've been conditioned to think this is what's possible, this is what you do, and this is how you do it, and this is what we do, right? We're talking about monkeys. You'd like to think that human beings are a bit more intelligent, a bit more ambitious.
Well, I think we're like 98.6% the same as monkeys.
Yeah. I said my dog, remember Vegas, right? So I moved into this nice apartment I thought was nice in Knoxville, Tennessee, right? It was after I got...
I'm going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee tomorrow.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
I know.
Unless you
Wednesday.
spend 2.5 years there, then you got to get out. I moved into this apartment, right? Me and my dog, Vegas. Vegas is a little puppy at the time. And day one in this apartment, I go to open the door to go into the bedroom, and the door falls off the wall.
Okay.
Right? Not a good sign, but in my head, look for the bright side, right? I'm like, well, shit, it's just me, so that's just one less thing I have to do every day is open that door. So I took the door, I put it out on the deck, and the door stayed there on the deck for a year and a half, right?
Okay.
So I had no door, no bedroom door. The puppy liked to eat my shoes. So when I would go to work in the morning, I had this cooler, this big cooler on wheels. I would just wheel it to the doorway going into the bedroom, and she was too small to get over it. Well, over time, she obviously got bigger and stronger, and she could, move that thing out of the way or hop over, whatever, but she never did because in her mind, the cooler is there, I'm too small to get over it. She'd been conditioned to see that as a barrier that she could not get past, right? So now I'm not talking about monkeys, I'm talking about dogs. I don't think we're part dog.
Let's talk about elephants, same thing.
Elephants, same thing. Walk around in a circle with a little stake in the ground, right? The elephant could easily rip the stake out, could stampede and crush everybody. What, a bushel? Is it a bushel?
It's called a hand.
A hand of bananas.
And
like Tony Robbins.
It's a finger.
It's got huge fingers like bananas.
He does.
So the elephant could go trample everybody. He's got a little stake in the ground, right? And all he does is walk in a circle. Why? Because when he was a little elephant, he couldn't get the stake out of the ground, and now he's just been conditioned to think that's all he can do. As people, unfortunately, on a different scale, we a lot of times are no better than the monkeys, the elephant, the dog. We get conditioned to think what is possible, what we can achieve and accomplish, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody. But that's we program ourselves and we fuck ourselves.
Thank you, Professor. Scientist.
Maybe I am a scientist.
Yep.
I'm a scientist myself.
Yeah, so there you go. So I think the moral of the story is to set yourself free, you got to break out of the cycle of thinking that because things have been this way, they will always be this way.
That's what we've always done around here.
Yep. And I do know this, that when your intention is pure and strong, you can tell in people's language. We've obviously experienced this over the years. When people say, I want, I wish, I hope, that is just screaming at you that there's a lot of uncertainty there.
Lack of confidence,
and lack of commitment.
Yep.
And it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. But when somebody is fully committed to a thing, whatever it is, I'm going to make the all-star team. It's happening. Whatever it is. I'm going to run my own business. I don't want to work for somebody else. I am going to retire my parents, right? As soon as you make a decision, it's a wrap. And then you'll notice in people's language, they'll say things like, I will.
When I'm,
Yeah, and it's happening, and I think that the power of words is somewhat understated.
Yeah,
words are very powerful. If I say to you, Michael, you're a fucking liar, versus Michael, I think you may be mistaken. It's a different feeling.
It is. I felt bad for a minute.
It has a different connotation. But I'm really saying the same thing.
And it's the words inside your head, the words that you tell yourself. That's it. And then the words that you allow to filter in that come from the outside.
Yep.
Some deep shit right there.
It was.
So, I'm in.
You're in. In tension.
Absolutely. And it's valuable, Edward.
Because it's true.
It is.
Cheers. Salute.